righty, welcome everyone to the Patriot Investor Virtual Meetup on this Wednesday evening. Appreciate you guys taking the time to join us. We've had some really good feedback on our previous sessions and getting really good feedback as far as what folks are wanting and desiring, and that's what we're trying to focus on. This was one of those topics, managing multifamily properties. So what we're going to do today, just to give it a 30,000 foot level, is we'll dive into the property management teams and what is that on site. We'll go a little bit deeper into the asset management side and what is all involved on that. And then we'll wrap it up with questions. But most important today is we want to just take a minute for a moment of silence. Greg Butcher has had emergency and unfortunately hasn't been able to join us this evening. You know, if you know Greg, he won't miss anything unless it's an absolute emergency, and he wishes he could be here. He wanted us just to let you guys know that. But if we can just take a quick pause just for Greg, that would be awesome. All righty. Well, we'll get kick started. First and foremost, we want to encourage everyone to have their cameras on and just get involved. There's a lot of folks that are in our groups and in these sessions that have a lot of knowledge and expertise in certain aspects of what we're discussing. We encourage you to chime in and get involved in the conversation. If not, that's fine as well. We just wanted you to know that we would enjoy and appreciate any comments that you may have. I'll kick off right now. I'm Brett Hadley. I'm with Badass Brothers with my brother JJ, and we own and operate over 750 units across the United States. And in fact, this is what JJ does for a living. He specializes in asset management. I'm on the investor relations side, primarily focused on capital raising and ensuring we got the capital to execute our deals. So that's who we are. And JJ, I'll pass it over to you to kind of introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks for joining, everyone. I'm JJ Hadley. Like Brett said, the other half of the Badass Bros. We started doing this in 2019. We started buying smaller multifamily properties, actually managing them ourselves. So we actually started doing the self-management, rolled over into larger properties, 100+ unit apartment complexes where we get into third-party property management. Currently, right now, I'm overseeing several of our properties as asset management on the property. So we'll be talking a little bit more in depth on both of those tonight, but thanks for joining. Greg Butcher, like Brett said, couldn't join us tonight. Greg's been with BluSky for over 10 years. He's been in multifamily. He's got around 200 million in assets under management. Greg and Brett and I have 2 properties together, and we just look forward to growing our new partnership. We're starting to merge a company right now together, so to buy large multifamily properties.
And at this point, we do want to let anybody that would like to come off of mute and introduce themselves and kind of give us a 30,000 foot level of who you are and what you do for a living.
Yeah, I can come on. Thanks for hosting this tonight. I love your guys' name. That's awesome. My name is Zach Knoll. I'm new to the multifamily game. I currently run my primary business is in auto reconditioning. It's paintless dent repair, window tint, paint protection film. Basically, I created a job for myself. So looking for different avenues for making my money work for me, basically. That's kind of why I've gotten into multifamily. I joined the Michael Blanc program back in November. Still working towards getting the first deal done. Primary markets I'm looking into is like the suburbs of Minneapolis, St. Paul. I live in Minnesota, so that's kind of why I'm biased towards that. Fargo, North Dakota, and Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, Iowa area.
Nice. Awesome, Zach. Thanks a lot for that intro, and definitely excited to do whatever we can do to help you get into that first deal. You've got a good mentor in Michael Blanc. He has a really good really good resources out there. So thanks a lot. You're focusing on some really good markets. So yeah, if there's anything that we can do after the call as well, I wanted to make sure that everyone's aware of this. If there's anything that you would like to go in deeper as far as like a specific topic, because we're going to keep it high level tonight, but we're more than happy to jump on a call and discuss further, as well as Zach, like I said, as you get closer to getting that first deal and wanting to get feel a little bit more comfortable on the asset management side, the property management side. We've already probably been there, done that, and there's probably several folks on this call that has and are more than willing to help out. So that's what we're here for.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Yep. All right. Is there anyone else wants to introduce themselves?
I'll introduce myself. I'm driving, so I hope that's okay.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay. I didn't want to miss it, so I just took it in the car. So my name is Vibeke Hansen, and I am in Los Angeles. I have a team. We are focused in the Phoenix area, as well as tertiary markets in Texas. And right now, we've had a lot of education. We've sent out some LOIs, and we still haven't found that ideal deal, but we're working on it. And I have recently started of course, on capital raising. I felt that was kind of where my weakness was. And I want to make sure that when we do have it, that we can raise the money and we can close. So that's what I'm doing right now. Nice. And just glad to be part of this evening. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining tonight.
Absolutely. And you're doing the right stuff by joining as many things as you can and getting around, surrounding yourself with people who have raised a lot of capital, and Greg and ourselves, we've been down that route, and it's definitely challenging sometimes, and you got to get out of your comfort zone. And this is just something that you got to learn in the multifamily space. If you're gonna do it, you gotta be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Let's just be honest with it. So thanks for coming on. Does anybody else would like to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure.
All righty. Well, we'll push forward. Here's who we are. Like JJ mentioned, unfortunately, Greg wasn't able to meet us, and I know he has a lot of folks. And if you're in that Phoenix market, he has some assets in that Phoenix market. We've got one in Tucson, so we're definitely in those areas. And you're talking to two of us right now as far as the BAB Investor Club members. We have not only their members, but their family members who have joined. And so that's what we want to make sure that you guys are aware of, is that if you have family members that are hesitant about what it is that you want to do and what you're trying to educate them, please bring them on. We're more than happy to help facilitate that discussion as well. Next slide. Mission and purpose is it's either for those veterans, and that's our tribe. I've been in the military for 19 years, going to be finishing up and retiring here shortly. Greg Butcher has been a 20-year retired Marine. So, and JJ is a Patriot, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. Is it's not just for veterans, but it's for those who support the American flag and freedom, and allowing us to do what we're doing today. And that's what we want to do. Is there is a stock market piece in your portfolio, but there is an opportunity outside that, and these alternative investments that, hey, 5 years ago, I didn't even know I could do that. I thought it was only wealthy people that owned these properties, and now I understand how. And that's my goal, and that's what Greg's goal, and that's what JJ's goal is to ensure that we educate our tribe and showing them that there is a way to own these properties. So, and if anybody has any input, like I said, as we're going forward, please don't hesitate to chime in. Next slide. All right, we'll dive into starting to managing multifamily. We've gone down this pathway, and it's such an incredible way to add value to not only the actual asset itself, but you're adding value to your actual tenant base, because as you will see, the ways that we go in and do some of the things that we do are going to increase the quality of life for the tenants. And it's just an incredible way to do that. And property management 101, we're overseeing the daily operations of these large apartment communities and being able to add that and serve that community. And not only that, but to have the community around these actual assets that we're purchasing that may have been a sore thumb. And then we're actually going in there and putting in the work to make them actually look better and feel better. So it's so many ways to be able to serve, and that's what we love about this asset class, and just being able to maximize the property value by putting your actual sweat equity into it, and being able to partner with these property management teams. Next slide. And from a 30,000 foot level, there's two different ways that you can do this, and self-management, that's where, yeah, you're going to oversee the operations, you're going to handle all aspects of managing the property. That's one way to do it, and that also involves, if you are a vertically integrated company, that you may have the opportunity to just hire in-house and have those folks working for you as a company. And eventually, a lot of these companies that we know, like, and trust these operators, that's some of them, as they grow, they get wanting to do that on their own, and they're able to control that aspect of it. So they do it from that perspective. But self-managing, if you're thinking about self-managing, it's also on the smaller units would be that you're doing it yourself. You're overseeing all of the things that we're about to talk about. Professional management. That's the way we highly recommend, and that's what we've done successfully, is being able to partner with these third-party property management teams who now they take the day-to-day operations off of you, but now people like JJ, as the asset manager, oversee them and make sure that they're getting all the key performance indicators, and they're doing what we need them to do, and focused on the priorities that we need them focused on. Any questions on the difference between self and third-party property management? Next slide. Here are all the services that are being provided, and it looks like a lot, but it is. And that's what's so critical about being able to partner with these firms that we're partnered with, similar to the ones that we have in Fort Worth or the ones that we have in Tucson, whether it be the ones with the assets that we have right there in Wyoming. So all of these different things are what their services that they're providing. So they're going in and they're screening the tenants. They're providing maintenance crews that come in and do the daily maintenance of them, so that the toilets and taxes and termites, they're actually the ones that are doing that. And from a 30,000 foot level, as a limited partner, which we have done, now you're investing into this company. Like, if you were coming to an investment with us, you would invest, and we want to make sure that these property management teams are executing the business plan efficiently and effectively, and that's what JJ does expertly, and that's what Greg is really good at from the financial aspect of it, and just making sure the accounting piece is right, the renovations are being done to our expectation. There's also the legal compliance aspect of it that we're making sure that we're doing, the rent collection. So all of these things that they're providing from the property management side are things that JJ and the asset management team make sure that it's happening. Next slide. Now, this is what we try to focus on, like we said, the quality of life of our tenant, because a happy tenant, meaning they're going to take care of your asset. And we have had nothing but success on making sure that when we take over an asset, we make sure that they know that we are going to take care of them. And by doing the things that we do, one of the things that we just recently did in our Fort Worth asset was we held a big barbecue and those type of tenant appreciation events, and getting their families together and getting the community together, and just being able to show them that we care, that we are serving them. And yes, we expect in return that we're going to have tenants that pay. And we have had a tremendous value add, because the more we take care of them, the more they want to take care of us. And it works both ways, and it's not rocket science. I teach my kids the same thing, right? It's just the golden rule. and treat others the way you want to be treated. Well, we expect that, so we're going to give that to them. And that's what we truly value in making sure that our tenants have a quality that they expect. Does anybody have any questions on any types of things that you've done in your properties or assets that you've managed that you'd like to talk about? Is there anybody who would like to talk?
How about anyone that's worked with property managers before, the good, the bad, the ugly, anything that you've done before, any communication?
So I have a little bit of experience. I would say it's more asset management than it is property management. My parents have a portfolio of triplexes and fourplexes here in LA County. And when my stepfather passed away about 20 years ago, my parents had always self-managed them, everything from doing the leases to painting. They were literally painting and turning the units themselves, doing everything except maybe carpeting or plumbing. And when my stepfather passed away, I had a full-time job and my mom really didn't really needed help. So at that point in time, I found a property management company. And now as my mother has gotten significantly older, I've basically been that liaisons between, my mom and the property manager, and taking care of the things and giving the okay for different, the different things that are happening within the units and upkeep and so forth. So I'm in asset management, but at a much smaller level. And I'm hearing how it is when you're dealing with 100 units versus 3 and 4 unit complexes.
Right.
That's exactly, you nailed it, because property management is property management. It's just a higher level, if you will. And as you scale, it is extremely important to do what you just said there, is to make sure that you're partnering with property management teams that like, and trust, and that you have a good asset manager, like you were just mentioning right there. You have to be oversight, because if you're not putting a light on them, then guess what? It's going to slack. And what's so important is about the boots on the ground. And when we say property management, yeah, that's the team as a collective unit. But JJ and I and Greg can tell you that the most critical aspect of a property management team is the on-site manager, because they can make or break you. And the better you take care of them, again, it goes back to that golden rule, right? Like, just making sure that you're treating them with respect, making sure you're giving them bonuses when they keep an occupancy over a certain percentage. So these are all the things you mentioned, right? That was all the good stuff. It's not in rocket science, but it's stuff that you got to keep in mind to make sure that we're taking care of our people. Next slide.
Well, I just want to touch base with you on the importance of the happy tenants are more likely to renew the leases. The reason why we do those barbecues and bring maybe the Easter Bunny in, do Santa Claus at different properties, things like that, is so you can retain those tenants. You want to make sure that they're happy. So when we do, your ultimate goal is to make as much as you can. It's still a business, correct? And so you want to make sure you're renewing those leases at a higher lease, and they're more likely to stay if they're happy. If you're giving them those rent increases and you're not taking care of them, there's roaches in the property, you're not doing things like we do, you're going to have a high turnover. And what happens with those turnovers, we'll talk later down in asset management, is that you're going to have higher renovation costs and turnover, make readies. And so you're going to be spending a whole lot more than it was just to bring in a pool party or a barbecue and keep those tenants happy, keep them involved, that you feel more like a community. So I just wanted to touch bases on that. It's very important.
No, thank you, JJ. And that right there in that bottom right-hand corner, that we've had, when we took over this property in Fort Worth, we walked around this facility at night, because that's one of the most important things, is safety for our tenants. And I walked around, I was scared. I was like, this is dark. And so that was one of the things that we ensured that we did first, is that we need to get adequate lighting out there, so that when our tenants are going out to their cars or whatnot, it's just making sure that they feel comfortable. And then they actually in turn see the stuff that we're doing for them, and they're going to appreciate that. So it just goes back to, hey, how do we take care of our tenants? Some of the things that have been very beneficial in managing the asset itself is some of the tools that a lot of these property managers, and that's what when we are hiring one, we're asking them, like, what property management software do you use? Show us some of the financial tracking that you're doing. Here's what our expectation is, because here's the assets that are working very effectively over here, and this is what we expect. So show us what you have that are going to align with that. And that's kind of what we're doing with any of the actual tenant or the actual property management teams that we are looking at hiring whenever we're taking over an asset. So that just allows us to see, hey, are you going to use smart technology? Are you going to the ability to have energy efficient lights, even though that you may think it's small, but when you have the 30, 40 lights out there across a building and you're not using the proper lighting, that can make a major impact on the bottom line. So that's just one example, but there's water saving examples that we use, just ways that we can reduce costs and increase revenues, right? Like that's exactly the bottom line is that's what we're trying to do, and to make the returns for our investors as well. JJ, is there anything on there that you want to mention, or if there's anybody that has anything out there that you'd like to let us know that's working effectively on an asset that you have that you're operating, feel free to jump in.
I think you hit it on our side, Brett.
All right. Next slide. All right, I'll pass the baton over to JJ, and he'll go through some of the asset management side and some of the legal side that we are experiencing.
Sure. We'll finish up just on some of the property management lease agreements. They take care of all the lease agreements, third-party property management. They enforce the leases. The main thing on the asset management side of when we take over leases is that we do a lease audit during due diligence when we take over a property. That'll tell us who's paying, who's not, if they've done background checks. That's very important when you take over a property, because when you put an offer on a property and you're in your due diligence, and you can go out and find if there's going to be problems with evictions. That's one of the main things that we've done on most of our properties when we take them over, is that the first 3 to 6 months is that we're going through a lot of evictions because the previous owner stuck whoever they could stick in there because they were selling the property. They didn't do proper background checks. And so that's just part of the eviction process. We're going through that on one of our properties right now. So we just got to make sure that you're doing proper documentation. Actually, when you take the property over, you're making sure your property manager is doing the proper background checks. If they've got prior convictions, they're catching that, doing background checks, because you don't want to deal with that. Evictions are expensive. There's just a turn. There's just lengthy process. You just don't want to deal with it. That goes right into the asset management. So asset management basically is just to oversee the property manager. It's our job as asset managers to run and perform the business plan. So when we purchase a property, we predict that it's going to make a certain amount for our investors. And in order to do that, we've got to create budgets, work with the property managers to create revenue, and watch the costs. That's what this slide talks about. It's forecasting the estimated income, the expenses, the tracking it. It's our job to make sure that that's going on. We can set the budget, but if we're not going to oversee the budget and make sure that the property manager is sticking to the budget, they're going to probably overspend or not pay attention to it. So it's our job to make sure that they are. So the income is coming in, and you got to watch expenses. Everything floats from your trash contracts to electricity bills, gas bills, water bills, repairs, maintenance, all that's on your expenses. That's some stuff that you can control. Some stuff out of your control is maybe taxes, the cost of insurance, that kind of stuff. But anything that you can control on the asset side, it's your job to make sure that it's being taken care of on a monthly basis, if not quarterly.
JJ, can you talk a little bit about how often you're meeting with the property management team?
Yeah, we meet once a week with our property management team. We make sure that they go through what the revenue was for that week, any delinquencies they've got, any evictions, any work orders they have. We want to know that on a weekly basis. If we get on a weekly call, and if not bi-weekly call, we can nip it in the bud if there's something wrong that we see that they need to take care of. So if the delinquencies are starting to go up, we want to ask why. You know, are we not, you know, we want to know how many people are coming in to lease the units. Are we getting a lot of walkthroughs? Where are they coming from? Apartments.com, Zillow, Marketplace. We want to know where all the leads are coming from and how many of those leads are you actually turning into a tenant? How many are passing background checks? How many are failing? We can find a lot of information a week to go over all that. Also, we make sure we go through when on our weekly calls, what renewals are coming up over the next month, 2 months, 3 months down the road, so we can know exactly what they're going to be sending these renewals out to these tenants to see who's going to be renewing, who's not. We want to get ahead of that game so we know, you know, if someone's not paying, we can get them out of there as fast as possible. So we try to meet weekly. We've got a couple properties that like to do bi-weekly meetings, but we try to keep all of our property managers on a weekly meeting. Maintenance and repairs. So there's routine maintenance. That's going to be like changing your air filters. You have to stay on top of your maintenance guy. It is part of the property management group. We have a maintenance guy, usually one on every property. Some have two. And they have a schedule of what they're going to be doing on routine maintenance, maybe checking the chillers, the pumps, the boiler systems. The pool is a big one. We make sure our guys are taking care of the pool and cleaning out the pools. We don't want any leaves and debris. It's just going to cause the pool to turn green and cost more, and chemicals, which cost more on the expense side. So that's just routine maintenance. Emergency repairs, there's always emergency repairs, just like a home, a duplex, fourplex. Well, think about it, 100 units, you're going to have some emergency repairs. The older the property, you're going to have more. We like to buy multifamily value add C-class properties, which means it's going to be built in like the mid 60s all the way up to the 70s. And so they're going to have cast iron pipes. They're going to have galvanized pipes for the water that is going to cause more in repairs. So you've got to budget that when you're buying a property to know that you're going to have those emergency repairs. We get calls quite frequently on water line breaks, and they're, you know, when you're digging up a water line, it's costing $5,000 to $8,000 a time. That can eat up your reserves pretty quick. So just got to make sure you're prepared with that. And that's why a good property manager will actually walk the units with you when you are buying a property, and you got to start looking for that kind of stuff to know what kind of budget you need to set aside for old roofs, old plumbing, old electrical, that kind of stuff.
JJ, can you talk a little bit about some of the strategies that we've used to reduce costs, especially from a landscaping perspective? Can you talk about what we did in Fort Worth?
Sure. Yeah, so in one of our properties, our property manager doing a really good job. Like Brett said, our on-site is she's a bulldog. She takes care of stuff. But some of the stuff is just out of our control. One of our properties, we've got a floating rate debt, and so it's ate up a lot of our cash flow. A lot of operators are going through that right now with bridge debt. And so we didn't have a lot of money. We got a bid for over $20,000 to come in, but our asset management team got together and we spent roughly $2,500 on material, and we went out and did our own landscaping. And we took it upon ourselves to put in a day's work. It took us about 8 hours, but you know, that's the kind of stuff you need to be prepared to do. If you got to keep it above water, you got to be able to take bullets for your investors. And a lot of people aren't doing that right now, and they're losing properties. Properties are being foreclosed. You got to reach outside the box and think what you can do to save money when things hit the fan. It's not ideal. It's not what we want to do. But as asset managers, we seen that we couldn't afford the $20,000 in landscaping, but that $20,000 in landscaping with us $2,500 saved us $18,000 plus. It gave us great curb appeal that we needed up front of our property. And so it's going to help us with our tenant retention. All of our tenants seen us doing that. And so they just say, man, if the owners are going to come out here and work, you know, that means a lot. And so they see it. And so a lot of our investors seen that as well. So you just got to be able to, you know, sometimes when things don't go right, you just got to make it right. Reach outside the box.
What I loved about that the most, this is what I love about being able to do what we do, is that we were able to have our family members out there. I mean, I had my 9-year-old helping carry the stuff, and that's the more value of it. We're here to create a legacy. When we say that, it's like we're not just going to say it. We want them to realize what kind of things that we're doing, and that is just valuable for myself, and just to hear the questions that were coming out from the kiddos that were helping us out, and just to see the growth that happened in that time. So that's kind of the reasons we do what we do. It's not, yeah, the tenant satisfaction, all this other things that the benefits that come from it, but bottom line is that we're helping our families, and we're helping our investors realize that we're going to go above and beyond for them, and that's every asset that we have.
Yeah, not everything's going to go as planned, and so you got to reach outside the box. And being as asset managers, you got to see that. Working hand in hand, week on week with your property manager, you'll build that relationship to know that if there's a problem, you need to be able to take care of it. But like the routine maintenance, there's going to be emergency repairs, but there's also going to be repairs that are planned for. These are renovations. This was a renovation that we did on our 60 unit in Fort Worth. This is what it looked like before, and this is what it looked like after. What this does is it allows us to meet the pro forma that we set for our investors. When we give them a good unit turn like this, it's more likely going to be rented at market or above market rent, and that's your goal. Also, it's clean. We know this taken care of. Our tenants are taken care of, and they want to live there. I have a belief as an asset manager that I don't ever want to put a tenant in a place that I wouldn't live myself. And so that's just something you got to keep in your back of your mind when you're actually working with the property manager, doing the interior renovations. There'll be exterior renovations as well. Like Brett said, with the safety, with the wall packs. We put security lighting out for them to make sure it was safe. We've done landscaping. We've done several repairs on the outside to make it more curb appeal. But there's just stuff that you can do by adding interior units. We did adding washer and dryer connections, and some of them will rent the washer and dryers out. So that's other income. You can put carports in, reserve parking. There's a lot of stuff that you can do to an apartment complex to increase your bottom line. Like I said before, this is a business. We're here to make money. And so as we continue to renovate these units and we bring the NOI up, then it increases our profit. And so more profit for us is more profit for investors. So that's why we do it. That's just another part of asset management, is overseeing all the renovations going on the property.
From that perspective, it just seems like a win-win, everybody involved. The tenant, if you see the picture on the right, this is what the tenant's going to be living in rather than on the left, and they feel better. Our obviously, and investors, our limited partners who are coming into the deal, they are seeing this bottom line, because guess what? Now that we've renovated this unit, now people are more comfortable paying more for that specific apartment. Oh, well, if they're willing to pay more, now that the bottom line goes up. And basic math tells you that the returns are going to be better. So, and then by the way, JJ just mentioned the outside exterior improvements that we made. Well, now the community looks better. It's no longer a sore thumb. Like, we're making that look better. So that's what we love about this business, is just, the ability to serve so many different people.
And some of the properties that we've got, one of the properties right now we're dealing with it is just pests. Pests is a huge problem in Arizona and Texas. And when we took over this property in Fort Worth, it was full of roaches. We had to hire pest control companies, and we spent the money and got it taken care of. And we've had really good feedback from the tenants that we took care of that. So, it's not always going to be 100% perfect, but you just got to try to do your best to make sure it's safe and livable for the tenants. And they'll just keep, like I said, it's tenant retention. That's where you're going to make your money. So yeah.
All right. Well, we've come to the conclusion now. We've talked a lot about who we are. We had some folks come on and talk about what they've done so far. So appreciate y'all's communication and just participation in this. This is what we want to try and build, is this having people communicating. We all will grow together, right? That's the main thing, is that the cream will rise to the top. Having you guys come on here and talk about some of the strategies that you have used and have been successful, and on the opposite side of that, sometimes It isn't, all roses and peaches no, it's tough. This business is tough, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of partnerships to make it work. And we are so honored to have you guys join us today, and just want to open it up right now for anything that we may not have covered, and just open it up to anybody that has any questions, or if you want to if you don't want to answer it, ask it here. Please don't hesitate to reach out, and we can talk one-on-one. Next slide.
We also want to bring up that we are raising right now on a 94 unit in Tucson, Arizona. And if you're got a substantial relationship, this is a 506B offering. If you're on the call and you have a pre-existing relationship with Brett, myself, or Greg, we'd love to talk about this investment with you guys. It is going to be one of a great asset to add to our portfolio. We're expecting right on a 2x multiple on this property, and so it pays 7% preferred on a 50K investment. So if you want to learn more about this, we did purchase this at a 30% discount. We closed on it in May, and so we're just still raising the money. We got about $1.5 million left to raise on this for the CapEx. It was right at a $7 million raise. So if you're interested in that, get a hold of us. And then our next session will be August 28th. And we're going to talk about how you vet a GP operator if you want to become a limited partner in their deals and what you look for with that. If you guys are interested in that, we'll be sending invitations out by email and social media, or you can scan this QR code and you can sign up for it now.
And in the future, if anybody has any recommendations of things that you would like us to focus on, we've gotten some really good feedback from the active duty passive income team, really good feedback from my 10X vets. That's what's going to allow us to provide the value that is going to be most successful for you guys. So don't hesitate to let us know, like, hey, have you guys considered having this as a topic? We're having some really good partners going to be coming on and coming on as just guest speakers. So if there's an individual that you would like to have on, just let us know, and we'll do our best to make that happen.
One thing I do want to bring up too is that Brett and I are launching a course. It's going to be a seller finance academy. We've got 3 deals that we've actually seller financed, and there's some of them are one was a 23 unit, a 10 unit, and then we did our first deal on a 4-unit multifamily property back in 2019. It was a seller finance deal. So we're going to launch a course to teach people how to do that on their first deal. Zach, that might be something that you're interested in doing. If you are, reach out to us and get scheduled for that. We'll be launching that sometime in September. So,
and the whole reason we did it was because a lot of our tribe, if you will, a lot of those folks that are just getting started and they don't know the whole process or can't get qualified for the loans or whatever the case may be. What a great opportunity! Like the owner financing allows them to have more control in the deal, and we got that feedback from our investors that, hey, this would be an amazing thing for you guys to do. So that's what we did. We want to continue to do that, provide that value. So if you guys have any kind of input from us and feedback on ways that we can make this better, please do not hesitate to reach out.
any questions? All right.
Again, thank you all from the bottom of our heart, and to thank you for coming on, and just if there's anything we can do to help you, do not hesitate to scan that code on the bottom left, and you can reach out to JJ and I, and we would be more than happy to jump on a call and go deeper in, or talk about something that's not even here, giving us feedback. However you want us to do it, that we would love to do that for you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for hosting this tonight. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining, guys.
Yes. Well, you guys have a good
evening.
night.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye-bye.